Hello learners, in today's video we are going to deal with part 2 of the lesson The Treasure Within from your supplementary reader It So Happened. So in part 2 we'll deal with reading first, then its vocabulary, explanation, and we will analyze the moral. So before we deal with part 2, let us revise part 1. So now we will revise part 1 summary. Now let's get started with part 1 summary. Hafiz Contractor was an unhappy schoolboy. He had terrible nightmares about Max as he was afraid of Max. Miss Bela Raja asked Hafiz about his earliest memories in school. He replied that he was a very good student in first and second year, but in the third standard he lost all his interest in studies. He was very much interested in games, running around, playing jokes and pranks on others. He never remembered what teachers taught in class, and he copied during exams. Hafiz was a very good sportsman. He was the senior champion for many years. He was also the cricket captain. Hafiz's principal once spoke to him for 5 minutes, which changed his life. He told him that he had no father and his mother worked hard to bring him up. He also told him that he has to take care of himself as he was unable to help him any more. And the principal's advice made him to change in his routine. So there was a change in his routine. He would go for prayers and all he would do was to eat and study. This led to a good result. He got 50% in his SSC examination. Hafiz's principal told him to consider that he got distinction. This was his good memory of his school days. Hafiz used to forget things very easily, and in order to remember, he had to see things as a photograph or as an image. This is how he can remember. Miss Bela Raja asked Hafiz as how he felt and also what was his state of mind when he was being pulled up by his teachers. So Hafiz replied that he was so much interested in playing that he would receive caning every week and it would hurt him badly, but he forgot about it as he wanted to go out and play. Miss Bela Raja wanted to know if he felt insecure or threatened. He says that he was just interested in playing games, cracking jokes, and doing pranks on others. Once he created a distraction in the class and played chore police. He was the leader of a gang. He would have a gang fights and plan strategies. These interested him more than the academics. He prepared for exams a day before, and there was a high demand for his books by his juniors as they were brand new. Now, let us read part 2 and know more about Hafiz Contractor. The Treasure Within, part 2. He stumbled on. Stumbled on means got into by chance. Architecture because he knew little French and less German. So architecture is the art of designing and constructing buildings. He was offbeat even in the pranks that he played on others. Offbeat means unusual or unconventional. When he found his calling, there was no looking back. Calling means work or vocation of his choice. How did you get into the field of architecture? In the College for Architecture, nobody who had got below 80 to 85% was allowed to enter. I had only 50%. I wanted to join the army. I got my admission letter, but my aunt tore it up. Then I decided that I wanted to join the police force. My mother said, "Don't join the police force. Just do your graduation." So I went to Jai Hind College in Bombay. The interview continues, and Miss Bela Raja, she asked Hafiz Contractor how he had entered the field of architecture. Now Hafiz, he described very briefly as how he got into the field of architecture. Actually, in the College for Architecture, students who got below 80 to 85 percentage were not allowed to enter. So he had only 50 percentage. So he had to join the army. His aunt did not allow, and his mother did not allow him to join the police force, and she wanted him to do the graduation. So he went to Jai Hind College in Bombay. There, I was to either take French or German. Though I had studied French for 7 years, I did not know 7 words of French, so I took German. Then my German teacher died. The college told me that I could change the college or take French. Now, who would give me admission in another college? I had got admission to Jai Hind by influence. Influence means recommendation. So I thought, okay, I will take French, and I started learning French again. I learnt it from my cousin. She was an architect's wife. Architect means a person who designs or plans a building. I was going to an architect's office to learn French. So in the college, he had the option to either take French or German. So he studied French for 7 years and could not grab at least 7 words. So he took German. Unfortunately, the German teacher passed away. The college told him to take French or he can change the college. He could not go to another college as he got admission by recommendation. So he decided to take French and started learning French from his cousin. So his cousin was an architect's wife. He started going to an architect's office to learn French. Was it then that you decided you wanted to do architecture? Actually, it all happened quite by chance. In the architect's office, I saw somebody drawing a window detail. A window detail is a very advanced drawing. I told him that his drawing was wrong, that the window he had drawn would not open. Now, Bela Rajashi asked Hafiz, was it at that time you have decided to do architecture? Then Hafiz describes how it all happened. In the architect's office, he saw somebody drawing a window detail, which is an advanced drawing. So Hafiz told him that the drawing was wrong, as it could not open, the window would not open. He then had a bet with me. So who is that he? The person who had drawn the window detail. So that person had a bet with Hafiz. And later he found that indeed his drawing was wrong. My cousin's husband was surprised. He asked me to draw a few specific things, which I immediately did. He asked me to design a house, and I designed a house. So design means sketch. After that, he told me to drop everything and join architecture. Drop means give up. We went to meet the principal of the college. The principal warned me, I will allow you to take part in the entrance exams, but if you do not do well, I will not allow you to join. I got an A plus in the entrance exam, and from that day it was a cakewalk. So cakewalk means something easy to achieve. So here, the man whose drawing was pointed out by Hafiz had a bet with Hafiz, and Hafiz won in the bet. And this surprised his cousin's husband. He asked him to draw a few specific things, which Hafiz did without any delay. Hafiz was asked to design a house. Hafiz drew the sketch of the house. His cousin's husband was so impressed that he asked Hafiz to give up everything and join architecture. So here the architecture is, who is this architecture architect here? It is his cousin's husband, right? And he was that fellow, he was very much impressed, and he wanted Hafiz to leave that graduation, and he wanted him to join the architecture college. Okay. And this cousin's husband, he took him to meet the principal of a college, and in that college nobody who got below 80 to 85% percentage was allowed to enter. But here Hafiz got only 50%, isn't it? So the principal warned him if he does well in the entrance exam, he's going to get the admission. So Hafiz got A plus in that entrance exam, and it was a cakewalk for him. That is something, it was very easy for him to achieve the target set for him, right? I have never made a plan, but I knew how something looked like from the top. I had never known what a section was, but I knew if you cut a plan what it would look like. I stood first class first throughout after that. I believe that all this understanding came from what I used to play and do during school. I had a friend called Bahram Divecha. We used to have competitions between us for designing forts, guns, and ammunition. So, what is this ammunition? Means it is military weapons and equipments. Each of us would design something in an effort to be different. So, here Hafiz, he never made a plan. He knew how things looked like from different angles, and he stood first in the first division throughout his studies. He thought that all this understanding, all this has come to him from playing and what he did during schooling. He had a friend named Bairam Diveja, and both of them, they had competition for designing forts, guns, and military weapons. So they made efforts to draw the things differently. In school, when I was in the second or third standard, one of my teachers, Mrs. Gupta, saw my sketches and told me, "See, you are useless in everything else, but your sketches are good. When you grow up, you become an architect." I did not know at the time, but she was right. Later, after I became an architect, I went back to meet her and tell her. So here, then what happens, Hafiz? He remembers his school days when he was in second or third standard, that he doesn't remember properly in that particular class. One of his teachers, named Mrs. Gupta, saw his sketches and told that he was useless in everything, but his sketches were absolutely good and they were very good. And she said that he would become an architect on growing up. So when he became an architect, he met Mrs. Gupta and told her, "Why do you think you did not like studies? Was it because you felt you could not cope, could not deal with the curriculum?" Cope means manage. Curriculum is syllabus or subjects to study. I was very bad at languages. Science and geography I could deal with. Maths was very bad. I just was not interested. I was studying for the sake of studying. What they taught me today, I would forget after 2 days. I would not bother because there was no application of mine there to begin with. Application means use. So now, Miss Bela's next question was about studies. Hafiz said that he was bad at languages and he could deal with science and geography, and maths was also very bad for him, and he was not interested because there was no application of mind. Did you think that what they taught in school was boring, or did you feel that once you understood the concept of what was being taught, you lost interest in the rest of the lesson? Living in a boarding school is difficult. We were just living from day to day. Nowadays, there are so many tests. Back then, whenever we had tests, we used to just copy. The teacher thought that we had done our work. There is a contention that giftedness and learning disabilities go hand in hand. Contention means dispute or argument. Giftedness is genius. Do you think this applies to you? Well, take some students from my class. Those who always stood first or second are today doing very ordinary jobs. So here, Hafiz, he lived in a boarding school. There were so many tests, so he just copied in all the examinations. The teacher thought that at least they are writing and the work is done. Now, the another question by Miss Bela Raja, she points out that there's an argument that giftedness or having special abilities go hand in hand. She asked him if it applies to him. Then Hafiz says that some students in his class who stood first or second position are now doing ordinary jobs. I have come across this situation in so many different places where people tell me that their class toppers are doing very ordinarily today. In school, I think living our lives there made us street smart. Street smart means smart by doing things independently, by choice rather than force. I have learned more by doing what I did on my own than what academics would have taught me. So here, Miss Bela Raja also says that she had come across the situation in different places where people tell her that class toppers are doing ordinary jobs today. So as for Hafiz, he responds saying that school life made him street smart. He learned more by what he did than what the books taught him. That is because the personality and skills were there. You were able to find expression in a manner you were comfortable with, and you defied every rule so that nobody would stop you from doing what you needed to do. Defied means broke. I was more interested in other things. If, for example, while in class it started raining outside, I would think of the flowing water and how to build a dam to block it. I would be thinking about the flow of water within the dam and how much of water the dam would be able to hold. That was my interest for the day. So Miss Bela Raja, she expressed her views about Hafiz, that he had the personality and skills and he was able to find expression according to his comfort and broke every rule so that none stopped him doing what he wanted to do. Then Hafiz said that he was interested in other things. For instance, if it rained outside the class, he would think of the flowing water. He would forget the lecture and think about the flow of water within the dam. He would wonder how much water would the dam hold. When students lost a button while playing or fighting, they would come running to me, and I would cut a button for them from chalk using a blade. Discipline in the school was very important, and no student could afford to have a button missing. The student would get past dinner with a full neat uniform, and after that it did not matter. So discipline in a school was very important. Sometimes a student would lose a button while fighting. In such a case, the student would run to Hafiz. He would cut a button from a chalk using a blade, and no one could see that his real button was missing. And he would get past dinner with a full, neat uniform. Coming to the present, how do you decide as to what kind of structure you want to give a client? I look at the client's face, his clothes, the way he talks and pronounces, the way he eats, and I would know what his taste would be like. I can relate to people in a way that would be comfortable. I sketch very spontaneously on a paper on the spot. That paper I give to my people in the office. Now, Miss Bela Raja asked Hafiz that how did he decide as to what kind of structure he wanted to give to a client. Then Hafiz contractor, he says that when a client comes to him, he looks at him closely. He would observe his face, clothes, and manner, and that gives him an idea of his or her taste. Then he is able to relate to people in a way they would be comfortable. Then he makes a sketch spontaneously. He gives it to his people in the office. You do it instinctively. Instinctively means naturally. That is not coming from training or based on reasoning. Call it instinct, call it arithmetic, whatever. Now it comes to me like mathematics, putting design, construction, psychology, and sociology together and making a sketch from all that is mathematics. So now here, Miss Bela Raja, she asked him if he had done it instinctively. So all this he does it very naturally. So Hafiz says that his sketches are his mathematics, putting design, construction, psychology, and sociology, and making a sketch from all that is is this Hafiz contractor's own ability or his understanding of mathematics, which comes very spontaneously, he says. Here we almost come to a full circle where Mr. Contractor has derived his own interpretation of mathematics, taking it from a subject he hated to a subject he now loves dealing with. So now here things change with a series of events, isn't it? So here this Hafiz contractor, he has derived his own interpretation. Interpretation means understanding, his own understanding of mathematics, taking it from a subject which he hated at the beginning. So now he's dealing with lot of love. Now he's managing it. Now he's able to cope up with it. And now this is about Hafiz, his journey from a subject he hated to a subject now which he loves it. Right. Now we will come to know the moral of it. So what does this Butler story tells us? Yes, so here one should introspect the skills they have within themselves. So each and every individual should look within themselves in order to know their skills, their capabilities. A child should know what is his or her area of interest, and even the parents and teachers can also help them in telling their potential energy in, and that is in which area they are good at. So once if the child comes to know his or her skills, he can find a way that helps him or her to make a career in the field of interest. So, is this lesson clear, children? I hope you all have understood. Thank you.